For this look, we will be using mostly neutral angles. To cut a Pixie hairstyle, I'm going to be doing a section that divides the perimeter area from the interior part of it. This particular section is ideal for most Pixie hairstyles. On a Pixie hairstyle, the bangs area and the top area are the focal points. If you took the time to work on this on the fundamental course, it will be easy to do right now. As always with the deconstruction method, I like to start first on the most critical part of the haircut. Here you have the 360 view of this section. Stop and section the hair. To cut the perimeter area, we're going to use the freeform cutting technique with a razor. On this case, these bangs are the focal point and they can make or break this style. Because I'm doing a slightly side bangs, I will start at the shortest point and move towards the direction that I want the hair to move. As you can see, I'm using only the razor blade to cut the hair so I can get closer to the action and get the shapes that I wanted. You can customize this whole area by cutting some sections shorter and some longer. Hand select the sections you want to cut, pinch it with your fingers and cut one side to the other until you get those points. You can do it any length that you want. Some can be short, some can be long, short, long, whatever you want to do. Stop and cut the bangs area. Once you are done with the bangs, go to the section on top of the ear. As you can see, I'm using my blade horizontally in this area so I can cover more area and leave it a little longer over the ear. You can cut it any length that you want, including very short around the ear. To connect the bangs with the length on top of the ear, I'm going to comb the hair on a diagonal forward and cut it right there. See how I move the hair up to the point where the bangs meet with the sideburns. Slide down from the bangs to the sideburn. Repeat the same technique on the opposite side. Stop and cut the sides. Now is the time to cut the perimeter on the back area. On this case, the hairline is already really short, so I'm going to start on the sides. A slight cut from the length of the sides to the length of the perimeter. If the hair was longer on the nape, I will cut first the nape and then the sides. You can decide what shape and finish you like to do in the nape area. In this case, I'm using the freeform cutting technique. Use the razor and the same techniques we did on the bangs area. Stop and cut the perimeter. To cut the interior part of this style, I'm going to start first on the back and then I'm going to do after that the front part of it. I am sectioning the hair using the octagon as a reference, same place as I divide the hair from the front to the back. Using the French cutting technique, I'm going to create a guide on the center back. The angle that I'm using is almost neutral, just slightly positive. This is going to create a wave line exactly at the curve of the head. Use this guide to cut from the center to one side and from the center to the other side until behind the ear. This shape is ideal for heads with a flat area on the occipital bone to make the area a little more round. To cut the nape area, connect your lower middle part with the perimeter length and cut it. You don't even need to think about which angle you need to use. The 2 points to connect, they are already established from the middle section and the nape. Stop and cut the back. To create a short to long effect, we're going to be using the condensed cutting technique with a twist. Get a section on the center of the head and bring it back to the back where I divide the front to the back and twist it right there. This will create the desired short to long from back to front. The position of the twist is neutral on the center of the section. At this point you can decide at which angle you want to cut the hair, neutral, negative or positive. On this case I'm using neutral. As you can see, that has created the desired short to long effect. Now we're going to do the same thing but on the center back. We're going to pull the hair up to this point, twist it there and cut it right there. This will create a short to long this way. At this point, this is going to be the shortest part on the layers. I'm going short to long this way. Repeat the same technique, pulling this area back in both corners. As you can see here, using the octagon is making it easy for me to follow the haircut and know where I need to cut next. At this point you can decide at which angle you want to cut the hair, neutral, negative or positive. On this case I'm using neutral. I am using a neutral angle on this area to maintain the fullness on the mid area. Neutral angles are most common used on the interior part of Pixie hairstyles, with a negative or positive on the perimeter area, depending on the final look. On this haircut we use a negative angle on the front area for the bangs to be a little longer, and on the nape area we use a positive angle to get more graduated and less long. To determine the length, I'm going to use as a reference the length I cut on the top of the hair. Continue going around the head using the same squares. Stop and cut the interior. To keep the size fuller, I'm going to be using a neutral angle going from the back forward. The same thing as I use from French cutting technique, but versus going from the front to the back, from the back to the front. Stop and cut the middle section. To style this hair, use a creaming product with a little more texture. On this case, for this particular hair, I'm going to be drying all the hair about 80% with my fingers. Use your flat brush to dry it on the direction that you want. Stop and dry the hair. To create more texture and give it some more shape, I'm going to twist the hair following the octagon of the head and then cut it with my texturizing shears with the thicker teeth. Use the direction of the cut to add some more texture to the ends. Use the same twisting technique on the top. If you want to help the hair to go in a particular direction, you can use the texturizing shears and cut it going through that direction. On the sides, I'm using diagonal forward sections to enhance the direction of the hair when I do the texturizing. This will help the hair to move on that direction with less effort when you're styling. This is sliding hair on dry using the freeform cutting technique. Your clients are going to love the results and how easy it is for them to style when they're at home. And you will love the feel of freedom and craftsmanship on your work. Stop and texturize the hair. Most all the cutting that we are doing right now on dry is freeform cutting technique. I also use that you use a lever razor as well, only in the edges, so you can get that wispy finish that you want. Always be intentional with each cut and move. Continue detailing the look until you get the desired final look. Take your time to practice all these different texturizing and dry cutting techniques. Don't just go to the ones you use all the time. Stop and practice these dry cutting techniques. And here you have the 360 view of this Pixie hairstyle.